Hello, this is Brian Whitten and ET How are you? For those of you who haven't watched the channel to this point, we've had many hours and quite a few months now of investigative work into what the megaliths and pyramids on our planet were here for, and we have got to a point of knowing now that our Earth does not rotate around the Sun as we are taught. At school it is managed somewhat. We used to have two stars once upon a time. Estimated period would be about 15 million years ago, and since that other star was hurled aside to take up a rotation around Jupiter, our planet Earth and its rotation around the Sun has been managed. We are told it has a Goldilocks zone. It has one that is made appear to have one. At this point, if you're 12 or under, I would ask you, if you could, just to go and get your mum and dad to watch this video, please. Thanks, kids. For everybody else, we're looking at a red dot here, which is the atomic tests in Maralinga in the 60s. And here we're looking at the atomic bombing in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan in the Second World War. My father was involved in this war and fought to defend Australia, which is where I live. Also on that line is Rock, right there. And this inserted image is on the other side of the globe, and it is the reason why the globe here has a tilt on it. It was the very comet that stopped the tilt of the globe, and if I rotate the globe this way now over to this side, we now see the other side of the globe. The South American impact was down here, the bottom of South America. The Central American one was here. The new one is going to be right there. Unfortunately, that one there will be a 16-kilometre wide comet, similar to the one that I just installed. And this one here, England actually, it's right at the bottom of the UK, right there. And I will show you why that's going to be that case, and that other one there is New York. We will show you why it will be those two locations. Before that though, I'm going to fix up a mistake I made in the last video. The other thing I want to say before moving on is fix up the error I made in my last video. I told you that there had been structures found, built around other stars in the universe. They had, in actual fact, I'll show you that report now and just do an insert for you. But what were in actual fact, I made a mistake there. I think what we're seeing here is they're going to move the moon. That's what's going to happen. The moon will be used, instead of it sitting so close to the Earth, our tides will be driven by the Atlantis device that goes around the oceans. What we'll do, or what they'll do I should say, is move the moon further away. If you're wondering how far away, they have already told us that as well, and I will show you where. Now I bring up the plate again. We discussed this earlier. This is showing us the two rings of rotation of planet Earth, which is why we have the unnatural cycles. The planet and the populace of our Earth contains more than humans, that there are a race of beings that live below the surface, and at the time that this event took place, that it was a planet destroyed, Earth was out here at 186 miles beyond the Sun. The inner rotation where we are now is Earth's current location. It is there because it actually comes back to replace the planet that was here, and that's why we're getting to live. It is actually because of this that we are here, because if they left it the way it was, we would all be perished, a whole lot of us. Mars is in the middle, and we actually get dropped off here, and Mars will be, we will do this in the next 10,000 years. We won't wait till then. We'll start populating Mars and learn with our people that come here. They will teach us how to do all this. We will populate Mars so that when Earth gets pushed back out here, the people that are underneath the surface get the run of the planet while it's in the outer ring. That's why this happens. It's trying to keep races of people happy, and that's why it's done this way. The reason I came back to here is that is not the only purpose of this. It also tells you with these little swirly things here that that's an actual fact process. When they push it flat to go out there like this, it still has a precession of 12,000 years on the planet. It lies flat on the way out. It doesn't just go out there and that's it. It keeps rotating around the sun, but it is on an expanding plane until it gets to 186 million miles from the sun, and they pop it back up that way, and they do the cycle out here the same way as they do in here. It is when they bring it back in, we've already discussed this, I will cover it again, when they bring it back in, when they send it out there, they drop it over this way, pick it up that way. When they put it back in, they drop it over that way and pick it up that way, and that is how you get the directional change. It isn't the fact that they actually stop the globe and spin it the other way. It just goes, when they're coming back in, they lay it over that way and pick it up that way. It still keeps spinning in the same direction. They do that 2,000 years into this cycle. That is why I've come back here. I've come back here to show you that, well, the moon will be placed in a position like that, so that Earth, with the concentrated UV rays of this very, very narrow band of horizontal magnetism of the sun, drives it like this cycle here, in the mid of one of the cycles we've just finished. What happens is our sun doesn't go away. The reason they do that is to let us know it's not that the sun doesn't go away, but when the sun doesn't go away, it gets really, really hot, doesn't it? In effect, that's what they've told us. The concentrated UV rays of the sun on a narrow horizontal band would fry us, all of us. And what they're going to do is move the moon so that it rotates, so that it's like that, and we're actual fact, we're in a position where the sun's rays, or UV rays, with the moon placed like that, so it's like that all the time. It's a full-time solar eclipse with the moon moved further away, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Now, I've opened up Google Earth, and by the way, all my images here are just off Google, and I haven't paid for the right of some of them, but I'm not making any profit. There is no money being made here. This is for educational purposes, in the hope to save about 18 million lives. Most of, well, all of the UK and a greater part of the New York, Washington area in the United States. We will, before I move on to that, discuss this, and we've discussed this before, that down here we have Easter Island. I will do an insert now, the Maui that are on there. There's 887 standing and one in the ground still. 888 Maui. There are 888 Maui on Easter Island for good reason. It is 6,888 kilometres to go back to the point here where the line of longitude is, that is where the event took place. This is the event that tilted the globe. It is pretty easy to see. That is the one that tilted the globe. It is 6,888 kilometres from there up to the line of longitude that the globe tilted on. It is not by coincidence, it is by design. It is also letting you know Easter Island was manufactured, and it is being placed there because it is the only landmass beyond the tropics, and you have to get beyond the tropics to be able to create the point. It has been therefore built. We need to take a very, very close look at Easter Island, its shape, and understand why then is it the way and shape and size it is. You will note the volcano, crater, whatever it is, down at the bottom of here. This is giving us an indication of the size of the comet that's going to hit the UK. Okay? Those two positions are where they have to be. They are driven by a geotechnical requirement of the people that spin our planet around the sun. It has to be in those places, and it has to be at a very precise time to work. and they know how to do it. Trust me, we have no idea what to do. These boys and girls are very, very, very smart. They know, man, I'm not kidding, they know heaps. This is giving us an indication though of the size, because this is reflective. It's the bottom of the UK. This is what's going down here. Okay, so the comet that hits the bottom of the UK isn't this big. This is actually, by the way, 16 kilometres. It's actually the size of the one that's going to hit in America. It is also the last one, or the first one of the event that tilted the globe. This inserted one that's still sitting in the middle of Western Australia, quite visible right now, is in actual fact 16 kilometres as well. It isn't a 16 kilometre comet that's going to hit the UK. This is what's going to hit America. It's the small one that stops the movement, and the big one that's going to be required to start it. And the reason for that is then this plane of the sun will help and assist after a 24-hour period. And it is 24 hours later, we've already discussed that. That is why that is the way it is. I also want you to take note physically of the shape of Easter Island, because in respect to the US, that is giving you an indication of the the US coast. I will show you in short amount of time that is the area that we're looking at. Not so much an area, more shape. I'll show you how that fits into the US. I've just zoomed out a little bit now so that you can see that this is the location of Easter Island. This line goes off through to the pyramids. This one I've taken to the UK. It divides the second impact which stopped the tilt of the globe. That one there. That is where the tilt of the axis that was caused by this one down here, okay, that was stopped by this here. I will insert in the pyramid cross section where that's displayed. That is what stops the tilt of the axis. The line then from Easter Island, when I drive straight through here to London, it dissects the entry point here right in the middle, and it goes over to London. I've already told you that this event here, that was the one that drove the event down. I'll just spin us up north so we can see where we're all going here. This event here, which was the creation of the Mediterranean 6,000 years ago by two comets, two asteroids, two meteorites, whatever you wish to call them. One came in this way and one came in that way, and that's how this was created. The very first point of impact in the Mediterranean was here. It is 1,776 kilometres to London. 1776 being reflective of the US leaving the administration of the UK. Of course, that didn't actually happen. It was all just a make-believe thing. Didn't actually, never took place. It's an imaginary 1776, just as that is. I can assure you that. It's what you call being lied to. That's why the US are bombing the same line the UK want them to. This is what's going down here. When the landmass then, when it gets hit, the measurement of mass of land across the bottom of the UK, from here to here. Okay, now if I go to kilometres, I'll just change it to kilometres, not that it really matters a whole lot. What we're talking about here is that's a 540 kilometre width. We are then going to say, and even if we went down and said, okay, well no, we won't do that, we'll clear that, we'll go to the narrower one down here. We can just go anywhere here, I guess, and just say there to there. That's 450 kilometres. The comet or meteor that hits the UK is going to be over 200 kilometres wide, and it's going to remove a landmass entirely. The bit that's going to be left is about the size of Easter Island. That's the other reason why Easter Island is the size it is. It's telling you what's going to be left here. So providing the landmass is left, you may laugh, if the landmass is left there, that's what's going to happen. It will just be swept off the face of the earth. That does not need to happen. You might think, like, how the hell are you going to lift up a continent? They lift up continents. If they can move the moon out there and spin our planet round the sun, there is no reason why that entire landmass can't be lifted off. I've got these images up here. This is off the Avatar movie. Why do you think we see these things? Yet another one. This is not undoable. They can do this. They can lift the entire UK landmass, then put the comet on it, and then go. That is exactly why I believe we've got these in these videos. It is difficult to say they couldn't do it. I would expect that can be done, but it will only ever be done if what they requested from us, from our leaders. And it wasn't royalty, it was loyalty. And that's where you boys have got it wrong. That is possible. It is up to you. I'm going to give you a date that you have to do what is necessary, and that's put the people behind the bars and expose the royal family for who and what they are, if in actual fact they're involved in what it is that they are portrayed. The pedophilia that is being covered up by the UK government must end, and I'm going to set you a date of the arrival of these men and women from above that can come and do this and lift your landmass off what is beneath it. Otherwise it's going to be smashed into as many pieces as you see here. That's exactly what's going to happen. I'll bring you to another movie. This one was called Battleship. Unreal movie. I've watched this I don't know how many times, and it's probably been on as many times as it has to make sure I grasp what the hell this was talking about. What happens here, this is a movie about a race of aliens that come to Earth. In this instance, the US Army are able to defeat them with a 1945 battleship, which is why it's called Battleship. And that is, trust me, that's only going to happen in the movies. This was, in actual fact, found in a Spanish farm. And it reflects pretty much the same sort of thing. They don't know what it was, which is why this guy is in a hazmat suit here. I will mention this guy's name because I have another image here, a close-up of that. It was put up on Twitter account from Gene Serial, and this is what it looks like, okay? It's pretty easy to see that in actual fact, that one there, and the date of this is the November 11th, 2015, which is 4 years ago. We are looking at a very, very good reason why this has landed where it did. This is telling us that this is the line of length, or the line that the comet is going to hit the UK. That is why that is there, and it's ironically named Mercia. Have Mercia. Maybe the people where that's going to have not shown enough mercy. When we look at where the device that I just indicated to you was found, it was found right here. This is the trajectory of the comet, straight up and through here. What time? The reason it's going to come in from that direction, this is going to happen, as we've already worked out, on the 20th. Okay? On the 20th of December 2020 is when that comet will hit. They have to come earlier because there's so much to do. I pointed that out in the last movie, that there are things needed to protect the coastlines all around here, or the other side here. There's a lot to be done. If things are done here They may very well, like I said, lift the landmass off and then drop the comet and then put the landmass back. But it will only be if the people that run that world there, that part of it, do what is the right thing for the people that live on it and all around the globe. And to this point they have not. That is the trajectory. The time it needs to tilt the globe straighter, therefore it will be after midnight. I would suspect we have been told the very time exactly will be about 1:30 a.m. on the 20th or the morning of the 21st possibly here. I'll be honest with you, whether it's a day or two, we're not going to be doing it. What we need to do is get everybody off that place and everybody from here out of the way. They may have ways of being able to go down here and protect all this. I would expect they would. It will only be done when our leaders talk the truth. This is one more point I wanted to make about the town Morrison in Spain. This event took place where a meteor came in to the system and landed in the middle out here. Actually landed in the middle of the ocean. It took place, remembering that we've got to tilt the globe straight here before we get to the line of, before we get to the horizontal plane of the sun. We have to straighten the globe. Now I've got that lined up, that's England there. We can't hit it coming from this direction and straighten the globe, can we? Okay, we've got to come from the other direction, which means the globe has to be like that for it to be straightened, with England on this side. Therefore, at night time. This event happened at 1:37 on Wednesday morning. That may be the very time itself. Like I said, it's pretty irrelevant, but I thought I would mention it. But that is in actual fact what happened. It is the very same town, 90,000 kilometres an hour. Once again, an ironic thing that it is 9. That is where and how and when the event is going to take place. We will now work out from there the strike that will hit New York. We now have the east coast of the US. This is showing the trajectory of the comet that will come through on the morning of the 21st, 12 hours after the other one. I say 12 hours because if it was 12 minutes, as displayed in the Serapeum here, we would all be dead anyway, so there's not much point leaving any messages here. It will be 12 hours, it'll be done in a way that they know how the velocity used to control the movement of the tilt with the mass and create it so that it actually happens over a 12-hour period, not 12 minutes. If it was 12 minutes, we'd be dead. They will protect what they can, but before going there, I want to show you something else. And before we leave the Commonwealth, we need to understand why that is the trajectory. This is the event that tilted the globe. It'll be the New York event, which will be stopping the tilt of the globe this time. And it'll be the same line of longitude. This line of longitude, when we follow it up, you're wondering what the line is that I've drawn from the left to right. You'll note it's a town called Wingham. It is also associated in the UK one as well, and I'll show you shortly. So this is the trajectory of the comet that will come in here. You will also need to slow down. So that is the New York one. Quickly then we'll summarise the English version. Okay, now we start off in Morrison in France, and it'll go in the trajectory of this line, where Wingham on the other event is used to tell us the descent or angle of the impact. Wingham this time is going to tell us the width of the comet, and I did tell you from Easter Island that it was going to be over 200 kilometres wide, and it will be because it's 200 kilometres from here to here. This is Christchurch. It's not Christchurch grammar, but it is Christchurch grammar here, it is of concern, and certainly associated with my family, I believe. And this last line here is the last line then from Murcia in Spain, which is where we've seen those two incidents, one with the comet that landed in the ocean here, or in the Gulf, and then the other one that landed in the field was just here. So that is lining up our line or trajectory of the one that's going to tilt the globe, and that is making sense because it's an actual fact hitting the top of the globe in the middle of the night at 1:30 or thereabouts, and that is how and what's going to happen there. Now we'll move on. But man, before I move away there and from the UK, because we're obviously being told now the two reasons why the situation is the way it is, the two things they're unhappy with, and the decision is yours as to whether anything is, whether it's the British Parliament, the British military, whoever it is, you're all there. It is your country that's going to be wiped off the face of the earth this day. I wanted to bring to your attention, man, your coronation date. So we'll do a look at the date that I said the arrival was, and we will assess as to whether or not that was correct. And we will make the date I said, which is the 20th of the 12th, 2002, if we include the day by how long I told you it took to cross the plane of the sun, which was 3 days, so that this comet was landing on the 20th, we get the same thing, 67.6, which is exactly what we said. How long we travelled, how close the Earth came to the plane is in actual fact reflected in your coronation date, as it was in the date of the arrival of the comet. It's exactly the same, 67.6, which is exactly how many kilometres it goes. So that's the last thing I want to do there, ma'am. I'll just say this, the situation is here. It's obvious what they've outlaid here for us as to why they're unhappy. It's your decision, your government's decision, your military's decision. I'm just telling you what day it's going to happen. Now, before I move away from this, and we'll cover the US side of things, I want to talk to you a little bit about Roswell and their technology. The other thing I wanted to talk of now is our Roswell event. Roswell event, I'll do an insert here for a picture, is an event where there was a crashed UFO in the States. The date of that crash was the 7th of the 7th, 1947. My birthday, and I've said that because we've already seen my birthday crop up, and we wanted to see whether or not my birthday was relevant. That's what I wanted to do, because it's not just that, at the place where I've come, my house is number 16, I was born on the 16th, my neighbour was born on the 14th, his house is number 14, my next neighbour was born on the 12th, his house is number 12. Not all of November, but it was all the right day of the month for their house. I don't know if that happens, probably pretty coincidental, but if I put my day in here, I was born on the 16th of the 11th month, I'm the 11th child. The result between the incident in Roswell and my date of my birthday is 4,151 days, which in actual fact is 11 when you add those numbers up. I wanted to show you that because I wanted to talk to you about Roswell and why that is pertinent. Remembering that when I found the discovery that shined the light in to give me this image, it was at Patonga, which was 33 degrees in latitude. Now we're going to go and have a look at where Roswell is. Now I've come back to Roswell in New Mexico, and the Roswell location on our map and on our globe is 33.33 degrees north. I think, like I said, 33 to 33 degrees north and my finding and understanding of the discovery at 30 degrees in latitude, in actual fact, has given us a situation where we're looking at technology here, and that the expertise, you know, wasn't just, like I said, there's a lot of reasons why I probably was given this task to identify and understand the technologies that we're looking at under some of these rocks. I'm not kidding. So I wanted to talk to you about technology, because in what you see at Roswell, you are seeing not their technology, you're seeing their technology in a historical sense. They've dropped off something there that they were using when this whole event started 15 million years ago. You realise that's what you have there, don't you? I hope so, because if you think what you have there is new, it is not new, I can tell you now. And what you got left there is 15 million years old. They told you the technology they had when the event initially started and the Earth tilted in the first place, when they had the problem that brought and they had to bring the planet back in. That was what they had 15 million years ago, gentlemen. Think real hard. Though I will say I have been sent lots and lots of megaliths. I've kept them, but I haven't, you know, put them in videos. It isn't meaning that I'm not appreciative of what you've given me, or the people that have piped stuff my way. This one, however, I do want to put here, because I've said to you, as this inserted image here, that Tirumali Jain complex in India is reflective of the 4 cycles. This too is reflective of the 4 cycles. It is also confirming what I told you happens at the South Pole if we event this whips. It's not going to do that. But here we're seeing an indication of where the North Pole disappeared, right here. Okay, this is what goes down. In actual fact, of what I want you to note about these 4, this is what this is representing here. This is the 4 cycles of the planet here. This is our unfinished cycle here, possibly, you know. But what they're saying is there's been 4 cycles here where the brakes have been applied. That's why these are built like this. They're like brake pads you see in a car. What I want you to notice though is the size of this one to the size of this one, meaning that we have size and speed issues still in the outer ring, as portrayed on the plate here. The outer ring of travel is beyond Mars by 40 million miles. We've discussed it, and the planetary motion of the planet has been set up to make the situation where they cater for the people that live below our Earth's surface, right where we are now. I'll do this inserted image here. These people are flying out here on South America. It's not difficult to see that's where they're coming from, under the ground at South America. So there are people that live on our planet. And I would expect they're very smart, but I wanted to bring that to your attention. The size of these here, they look like brake pads on a wheel. I mean, I do fix my own brakes myself. You know, drum brakes work like this. This is exactly why this is here. This is why this one's drilled out. And there is another view of this thing being cast away, which is what I said to you when it blows up. And I'll show you this next image. So I'll show you this next image. There's a few of these, and I'll just go through a couple of them, and I do appreciate the person that sent this to me as well. They were put through onto a megalithomania site, I think. This is the site here, but what I wanted to show you was one of these here. Actually, that one there, I know what all these mean. I'll put them in a book one day, I guess. I'll be honest with you, I can't see the point of a book. I'll just wait for these guys to bring it. Their book will be far more accurate than anyone I can write, I can assure you. So what I wanted to show you is this one, and that you're seeing this. So the one that's been pulled out is hurled away somewhere else, and that's what's happening here. You're seeing a reflection of that, the actual removal of the North Pole. That's exactly what that's representing. Now I'd like to tell you why this video has taken 4 days instead of the one it should have. I had my son, who was the young boy that found this rock. Well, he was younger at the time he found it first. He was 3 months older the second time he found it in the same river, in the same hole. I'll show you that now, and this is, like I'm saying, what happened. That's where he found the rock. There was many other rocks there, but this one's come back to his feet. I wanted to explain initially why I've got a trend of thought here. Yesterday might took a little bit longer. My trend of thought when I found it was that this infill, there's an insert here, that side of the rock has got an insert in it right here. And I thought yesterday, everything they've got or everything they do has more than one reason. And I started to look at this, and the other day I then thought, well, am I looking at these three strikes here being representative at the pyramids themselves, like the size of the pyramids? One bigger, one not quite so big, and a smaller one. That was something I thought of. At the time, I thought that was representing Easter Island. This was the line that goes from Easter Island to the pyramids. I was aware because of watching those types of shows. That's actually what happened. This was then these three marks here, which are pretty easy to see, were indicating the tropics being created by the comet strike that's here. I insert it, and that's how I got started. I'll insert that picture again. I'll explain that to you. But then I started to think about this and started to wonder as to whether it was telling me any more stories. I looked at this not as so much that as a historical event, more to do with what's happened. So if I swiveled it around this way and stood it up this way, I then looking, what am I looking at now? Am I not looking at the Cape? It's what we're looking at here, and there's two dots on this side here, and then I'm saying, okay, I'll do an inserted picture here, which is actually in my digital book at this point. We're looking at the two comets that in actual fact have swept away the east coast of Australia and separated the landmass from New Zealand. It's swept right up the side of the east coast. Is that not what we're seeing here? So if we're looking at these events being recorded here, I wonder, and I turned the rock this way. Because now am I not looking at an event that's at the top of the globe, now if I have it this way as well, and I'm looking at that not being, this being our globe, and looking up this way, we're now looking at an event that we could be looking at here. Anyway, then I got to thinking, if I had it this way, am I not looking now at possible the actual predicted strike here, the one that's going to happen in England? And then I decided I was going to put that insert under the microscope. That is what I've done. But before going away from that, I wanted to understand what I showed you, this inserted picture here. This is where I lived in New Zealand. I told you I lived in Christchurch there for a while. I went there for 6 years. It was a very good plan, I can tell you, because I didn't get mixed up with the other two lots of 66 there. But that's what happened. I wasn't planning to go to Christchurch. I was going to Auckland about a week before I left. I was going to Christchurch. And then I looked at this here. But in my trip to Christchurch, I end up going past this place called the Meraki Boulders. I'll do an inserted picture here. They're down on the beach. Maybe there's a period of time where you need to see what it is you're seeing so that you can understand what it is you're seeing. You know, there's a whole list of things you need to see. This was the rock I found in the same hole. What we're looking at here, I started to realise what I was seeing. I initially looked at this and thought, well, maybe I'm looking here at these, you know, the periods of time in plane with the sun. Here we are in line with the plane of the sun, and we know we've done our first 12,000, going slow. We've now finished our 6,000, and now we're going to go fast. You see, this is what's happening here. There's all these marks along here. We also see that there's two masts coming in from the top here. One big one, which is the one I said is going to hit the UK. It's going to be a big 200-kilometre wide comet. This one will be as the second one was that I said was the very first in warning. I now know what the day of these two will be, but there's an event in Sydney that's going to happen before that. The bridge is seen flattened in many places. I'll show you that in a minute. But the reason I bring it back here is to say, okay, well, this is what we're on the inner line. We're on the inner one closest to the sun. We are finishing the first 12,000 as the parchment had, and we're approaching the 24,000 at a high speed rotation. That is the rest of this line after this event. That's why the line only goes to there. Then we're looking at the plane of Mars and the other plane of Earth beyond Mars. This is exactly as the plate is saying. We're moved out beyond here. And that's what happens. I have a lovely frog that's just come along to join the conversation. We'll let him go. But that is unusual. Frog is a reptile. So he's having his say as well. Because that is who does this. But it's not just the reptiles. I can tell you now, the people that have been leaving this world for 15 million years, if we look at the golden plate here and count that there is 96,000 years in between each one of those swirls, that we were all here at that point of time. That's what the message is. 15 million years ago we were all here. There will be a lot of humans that come down here that will be far smarter than us. Their brains will be working really, really well, I can assure you. It was this, the understanding of this, and even only this morning I'm thinking, well, maybe that is why we're seeing these balls around the place here. What I'm saying they are saying in their message here is what made me put this under the microscope. And I'll show you some movies that I've got, because I'm absolutely certain they are saying they can move as wild as it seems. They can move really large portions, if not entire continental masses, and they have it drilled out underneath the continent, underground. They've got it so they can, it either snaps off and rolls on a cushion of water, because the landmass in weight must be still less than the water it displaces once it sits in the water. That's what they always said about ice, sea ice. There's lessons all the way through, all of their lessons. When you really stop and think about what the lesson is teaching you, it is amazing. I'll show you something. Now I'm just going to play the first file that I got off that insert, coming directly in line with it, in line with the line coming up the rock, and I'll press play and you can watch what goes down here. And like I said, I was initially going to see, am I going to see relative to where it was going to land? Well, pretty much I've seen the shape of the American continent here. This is the west coast here, the Gulf, and it's telling you where it's coming, just where I said here. That isn't all that I see when I'm doing this. I begin to see things down here that I've seen before, and I have had situations where I've seen digging machines, what appear to be rotary, high-speed, rotary things digging in. This is what's actually trying to portray here. This by this, not just the shape of, you know, the United States of America here. This is what you're seeing here. This is the comet impact where I said it was going to land in New York Harbour here. It's coming in, streaking in this way, and this is where it's going to hit. Here they're telling us what they can do to stop it happening. They can bore and underneath the landmass. That's exactly what you're seeing portrayed here. So what we're seeing here is certainly, in my opinion, here we are seeing multiple displays of digging underneath the globe, underneath the land masses. They're saying they can take this bit out here and just remove it. And this is where I was wrong. I must address both, yourself, ma'am, the Queen of England, President of America, Mr. Trump, and of course Mr. Morrison, the Prime Minister of my country. I'll be honest, Mr. Morrison, everywhere I'm looking, the bridge is down in every direction I'm looking. The strings that were there, putting these inserted messages here have changed. I'll put a few in there. Once again, we've had a situation where once I've worked out what's going down, it seems to be taking it away. But like I said, that's what I saw on that one, and I wanted to show you that the same thing is reflected in other ones as well. See, once again here, see the sort of thing that goes down. We're getting told that there's, once again, where I'm going to come in from. I'm also seeing a situation on the rocks. I'll just let this play while I say this. Is the event that takes out Canberra is on the same day that the UK is taken out, if in actual fact the process here that we're talking about, this ceases. If it doesn't, that's what happens. They leave the landmass there and the comet hits it, and the one that hits the UK is 200 kilometres wide. It will not be wrong. It's put there as the bottom of Easter Island to let us know, and the shape of Easter Island will let us to know the devastation that will be hitting this part here. But they're saying they can take this away here. They can move a greater part of the landmass, which is why we're seeing these digging tunnels. I'll put another one on for you. That there is just, once again, just showing you probably a little bit clearer. I'll show you, that comes up over and over. It wasn't just that rock, it came up on multiple rocks. This is still the insert, but I've come at it from a slightly different angle, and it's the same again. You get the same sort of thing, or the same sort of message here, and that it shows you a digging machine in about this area here. Once you get the light right, they are not always easy to get them sitting in the right spot. That's it there, it's in here and it's digging through the mass underneath the planet. I swear that they're telling you they can move a continent, and this is where, I did say long ago, that this inserted image here, if in actual fact that is where the tilt the globe, it's furthest away from the mass of the planet, a rotating body, the mass is mostly at the equator. To tilt the globe there, you cannot have what was this perception of the rotation of the planet, but we are being told you can, and they can make a continent roll along the actual hard part of the planet. That's what they're telling us they can do. That's why these rocks have got these messages on them. That's why they've got these holes like this in them, make it look like there's a hole. It took me a while to understand why I was seeing this. I'll show you a few more, because it went from rock to rock. It was not something that was, it was a very, it's about there where you start to see it come out with a hacking into the side here. See, it's coming through here. And this is what we've got, but what they've got runs a lot quicker, a lot faster, and a lot bigger. And I would assume that possibly, maybe they float the mass on water when it fills with water. Maybe the shift of the continent, or the mass or the earth underneath, that the continent slides. And this is what they're telling us. They have the ability. They've done it for 15 million years. They put Earth back where it needed to be that long ago. Their technology is unbelievable to be able to do this on billions of rocks. This is every rock. I'll show you another one. Now this is Wilson's rock. I just moved that camera a little bit. I know it is a bit glary, but it's the same again. We're seeing a drilling machine here. coming through the earth. That's what it's doing, it's chucking all this rubbish out. There's somewhere you get the whole cave lit up, and you'll see a lot of UFOs in the cave as well. A couple of other times I've had this happen where this is where I've started to realise I'm still getting balloons here, or and I'm believing that what the balloons were not just signifying standing out in the middle of Australia with a balloon, which is probably the only way you're going to survive, without doubt. But I think they're actually telling us here they can float. That might be why I saw so many of them once, and I couldn't quite understand why I saw so many balloons. I think they're actually saying they can float the mass of a continent. Somehow, like I said, they've got the ability. Some of the, like I said, the imagery on some of these is really quite spectacular. You are seeing me photograph my TV, and it is, some of the imagery is amazing. I'll show you another one. Now this one is Wilson's rocket going now, and what I've got on the screen is the lines on the rock. I thought, well, the lines come to an end, so what I'm going to do is put my microscope on and shine the light down the lines, okay, so that you're coming at it at a slightly different angle. And once again, it was the same thing again. I realised that once I did that, I was then getting to a point where I'd see these machines at the end of the, doing what it is they do. They come through the earth, and they can dig holes, rotate around, dig holes right through underneath the continental mass. Like I said, it's obviously a message. They obviously want me to let you know that they can do this, or as far out as it seems. It is also as unbelievable as it seems. This is on every rock in our rivers, certainly on this side of the globe. The technology you're seeing in the manufacture, just of one of these rocks, just one, is amazing, let alone rivers full of them. The technology that you are seeing exhibited here, I cannot believe that we have geologists all over the world not willing to tell us what was on these rocks. Because on our rocks is our history of our earth, mankind. I cannot believe that people have not let us know what comes up on this rock here. And some of these rocks, I'll be honest, I spent a whole day yesterday really spending a little bit more time, and I closed my windows off to get all this. Some of it is really quite amazing, but once again, like I said, you will see digging machines in here, and they're carving out underneath. That's what it's about. It's that the whole thing is telling us how they get around that problem, and this is how we do then get the theory of earth crust displacement theory is viable, but it is only viable here. The pyramid movement in this first event, or the T1 and T2 events, tell us earth crust displacement is impossible. This is the only way it is. If we've got a continental mass in Antarctica that has ice on it that is in, you guys know your jobs. So therefore there must be a way of doing exactly what they're saying they do. And this is what you're seeing here. These are machines digging out underneath. That's why this is the way it is. It's designed to tell us a story of what they do. I'll show you another one. So then I used the same theory with this rock and thought, well, if you're showing me that you're digging through underneath the crust of the earth, then I'm halfway through here. There should be something there that's going to look like something digging through the crust of the earth. So I then put my camera there, or my microscope, and shone my light down the line of the line, and this is what it came out with. So this is that very line under the microscope now. And if I put the light in from the right, I would suggest is where I'm coming from with the light, you can see exactly the same thing. It's got a digging machine here, a rotating thing with the blades on it coming through, right through underneath the earth. It's actually saying at the end of the line This is what they're doing. So we've got some big decisions for you to all make. Very big decisions. They are decisions that I had to make myself. But the irony is that that's exactly the case. Myself and my boys had to make the decisions you've got now. You've got your land masses beneath your feet, gentlemen and ma'am. It is the total land mass in respect to the UK. I'm certain they're saying here that they can move the entire land mass out of the way, have the comets do their task, and you know, we all answer to people that would appear. There's a lot comes out in these pictures, and they reveal a lot, I can tell you. And it really is a sad thing that people have hidden some of these things from us for quite some time. That one there, like I said, is my rock. That is the one that I was told meant 32. I get that in a spot now where you start to see that digger come through here. That's a little bit more, you know, I got sidetracked into looking at that person standing there come out here. You can see some things. This is what you're seeing here. You're seeing the ability of these machines to go through underneath the earth. That's it there where you see it spinning through underneath here. That's what they can do. It's an amazing thing. I'll show you another. I might just let that play out. This is the one off Wilson's rock again. I can see, like I said, a situation here where there's obviously rather large decisions to be made. I also understand that my YouTube channel here is obviously very restricted. I can also understand that. Either way, we've got to make some noise, it would appear, that I would expect. As I said, the entry of them into the atmosphere will be on the 27th of the 10th this year. And here, once again, we see the same thing just there. I moved away from it. You see UFOs and whatnot flying through a hole underneath the ground here, so I'm saying to you, they can cut out. It's once again where they're displaying the same thing, which is why I've come back there. So the situation here is that they have the ability to save the greater part of the land masses. I'm not saying there's not going to be any problem, but they certainly wouldn't leave all of these messages here if the total thing meant total devastation either. So, you know, this is the reality here. They have the skills to do what they need to do, and that is, you know, to move the landmass. They can. That's what they're saying they can do. But they're saying we are not going to do it, you know, unless, you know, the situation is put to an end and exposed fully and ended finally. Otherwise they end it themselves. And obviously the way they end it, well, they will remove the UK landmass, and I have seen on a rock, albeit it is on a rock, we're seeing a lot on the rock. We've come a long way from understanding the technology and the skills in seeing what it is you're seeing on these rocks. It is really, really amazing. I can assure you now, the skills in some of what you're seeing right before you right now is really quite amazing. We have some major decisions to make. Well, you people have, I do not. I had a major decision some years back. I chose to improve what was here. I had something in my pocket that had it been in my soul and heart and knowledge of being able to do something about it, and have chosen not to do it, I've decided that just isn't me. There's no way that was going to happen. So put in a position like that, there was only ever going to be one. In this instance, I couldn't go on my own because it was my two boys. There was the situation. There was other lives at stake. I would not have put their lives on the line without them being asked if it was okay. And they both said yes. So now, like I said, I'm not trying to be smarty. I don't know why the situation is that it's all come back my way. It just has, ladies and gentlemen. So the situation is here. We've got something we need to sort out. And it really needs to be sorted. So I will call an end to this video now and say, thanks very much for, staying to the end. It's been a bit slow, I know. Thanks very much for watching. This is Brian Whitten and ETR. Have a nice day. Bye.